Good afternoon, everyone. It is such a pleasure to be here. I'm very excited to be the youngest keynote speaker at this conference. Thank you. I hope you're enjoying the conference so far. My name is Cassata. I'm an 18-year-old transgender singer-songwriter and activist from New York. I've been living my life as transgender, and I've been out as transgender since 14 years old. And boy, have I learned a lot about this community. I felt both accepted and rejected within this very tiny group. I'd like to share a story. I'm big on social media, and I'm very active on the blogging site Tumblr. A few weeks ago, I publicly shared my feelings on how hurt I was by the amount of female-to-male transgender individuals ridiculing me and harassing me based on my decision to not go on testosterone. One transgender man replied, "You have a hard time relating to other trans men because you are not on testosterone. And because you are not on testosterone, you still think like a girl." It gets worse. He goes on to say, "Your brain literally starts to think more like a man and less like a female, more real and less sensitive." I was baffled by this statement. How could someone who once identified as female make such a sexist comment? Over the years, I've noticed an extreme amount of sexism within our society. I've noticed that I am treated with more respect since transitioning to male. Not only have I realized an extreme amount of sexism within our society, but I've noticed an even more prevalent amount within the transgender community itself. Here's my theory for trans men. To pass as male, we often distance ourselves from the characteristics of the gender in which we have transitioned from. We often feed into stereotypes to be seen more male and less female. These stereotypes come from decades of oppression towards women. These stereotypes are what we base our methods of passing on. I've noticed that some trans men feel the need to overcompensate for being born female by acting overly aggressive and more masculine. Some members of our community even feel that their masculinity is based on who can medically transition the fastest. Transitioning has become a race. Members of the transgender community work so hard to appear as their desired genders. Through this, I've learned that passing is only based on opinions that stem from oppression and stereotypes. What one considers to be passing as male may be a completely different thing to another person. For example, I could be wearing the same exact outfit, talk and walk the same exact way, and be called sir by one person and ma'am by another. I will never know what made me not pass to that one person, because everyone's opinion on what is male and what is female are different. Due to this revelation, I've been focusing less on passing and more on what feels comfortable to me. I know who I am. I have to be who I am. For me, going on testosterone won't make me more of a boy than I am now. I'm always going to feel male. The clothes I wear, the length of my hair, how feminine I may be, cannot make me less of a boy than any other boy. As a community, we need to better recognize and accept our differences. We need to recognize that we all have different stories to tell. We need to hear each other's stories. We need to hear each other's experiences. We need to take them in and learn from them. For I could only tell a story of a white 18-year-old post-op transgender man from New York that does not have any experience of being on hormones. My job as a member of the transgender community is to make room for all of the other people that have a different story than me. I promise to listen to these stories and learn from them. Because even though I can relate to the life of someone who is transgender, I cannot fully relate or understand the life of someone who is transgender and is on hormones. The life of someone who is transgender and is a person of color. The life of someone who is transgender and is a woman. The life of someone who is transgender and is Christian. The life of someone who is transgender and lacks privilege in certain areas. Because I will always be a transgender man with privilege. The duty of myself and the rest of the transgender community is to become allies to one another. We are already an extremely small group of people. And within this tiny group, each one of us is very different. We need to understand and accept this difference. We need to understand that there's not one way to transition, but many. Transition looks different for all of us. There's no wrong or right way to transition. We need to understand that medically transitioning is a privilege, and some trans individuals may not have this privilege. We cannot judge them based on this. We must support them and accept them within our community. We need to also understand that medically transitioning is a choice, and some trans individuals may not choose to go down this road. That does not make them any less trans than anybody else. We need to stop distancing ourselves from one another and come together. We need to be one. Yes, we are all so different. We all come from different classes. We all come from different ethnicities, different racial backgrounds, different parts of the country. But when it comes down to it, we all share that same feeling of being born in a body that does not make sense to us. And because of this one small trait, we are a unity, a community, and we must recognize this, and we must come together. We need to look out for one another. We need to have each other's backs. We must stop hating on each other and begin to love every member in this community. We need to make space for each other. We need to become allies to one another. We need to remember that we are a community. We need to also remember that we are a minority. We need to remember that all of us are being oppressed, some more than others, but we cannot let the different amounts of oppression box us off and segregate us. We must join together now. And remember that no matter how different we all are, we need to always remember that we are and will always be a brotherhood, a sisterhood, and a family.
You better preach.